No one up here is going to call you Donald Trump anymore. We're going to call you Donald Duck.
Who should be? I'm absolutely serious.
With all due respect.
They're taking back our pandas, you know.
The GOP debate last night fell onto America, and America suffered. Also, for some reason, I agree with John Fetterman. I'll tell you what that's about. The immigration crisis, the government shutdown, and the inquiry into the impeachment of President Joe Biden. All that and more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in. My name is Jobob. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
Here we go.
Might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually her name, Jobob.
Live from the dingy bunker that is completely and utterly and totally cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in on today. It is Thursday, September 28th, year of our Lord 2023, the day after the monumental, ground-shaking, earth-shattering Republican debate numero dos, in which I will be making the argument that America, we don't have to do this. I think that is going to be the central theme of my debate coverage going forward, is that, guys, we don't have to continue doing things this way. You know what, we'll just start off there. That is the argument that I'm making. Eliminate the debate process as it currently is. There are so many other ways to do this sort of thing that don't involve random screaming on stage and saying the most outlandish thing that you could possibly say and trying to get those one-line zingers in there, some of which we will play for you in just a second. There are better ways to do this. Look, debates kind of originated in this fashion when there wasn't a multitude of media sources to go to. You had like the top three networks. What is the first presidential debate was Kennedy-Nixon, I think, in which Kennedy, well, we won't get into how that played out in the American public, but overall, the only way to really have a discussion was to be on a televised debate behind podiums and saying the things that you needed to say. Nowadays, I don't know if you know this, but we've progressed past the need for this sort of format. And because we still have this sort of format and the attention span of the American people has shrunk substantially, we have a clown show that is disguising itself as a debate. Again, I'm not for abolishing debate as an idea. People should obviously have conversations about how they think the country should run. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the debate current format that we have right now should be eliminated, and we don't have to do this. I'm going to play you a couple clips from this so-called debate, which was effectively just a shouting match between all the people I like, by the way, and how it has devolved into a thing that we don't need and should get rid of. First clip is this. This is, I think this is Chris Christie making his dumb and idiotic Donald Duck. This is stupid. If you watch these clips and don't agree with me that this is stupid and we don't have to do it this way, I don't know what to tell you. Watch this.
Joe Biden, he's completely missing in action from leadership. And
I lied. It's Ron DeSantis, but point still remains.
you know who else is missing in action? Donald Trump is missing in action. He should be on this stage tonight. He owes it to you to defend his record where they added $7.8 trillion to the debt. That set the stage for the inflation that we have now. I could tell.
Counterpoint, no, he shouldn't. Sorry, that was Ron DeSantis. Chris Christie, I guess, is next with his idiotic, dumb Donald Duck reference. Counterpoint, Mr. DeSantis, and look, this is my problem with that. We all know, Ron DeSantis knows, Donald Trump knows, everybody knows that he shouldn't actually be on the debate stage. It would be political malpractice to put a candidate that is that far ahead in the polls of all of the other candidates. It would be dumb. It would be the dumbest move in the world to put him on the stage. We know that. Trump knows that. The Trump team knows that. DeSantis knows that. Fox Business knows that. The news station. Everybody knows that. But for some reason, because of the stupid format that we have, we're still going to say things like, Donald Trump should be here. And I understand that that's kind of DeSantis' only move at this point, but what are we doing? We all know what the reality of the situation is. Why are we pretending that it doesn't exist? And now is the Chris Christie clip in which, again, this is another point as to why these things are stupid. Check this out.
And Donald Trump should be here to answer for that, but he's not. And I want to look at that camera right now and tell you, Donald, I know you're watching. You can't help yourself. I know you're watching, okay? And you're not here tonight, not because of polls and not because of your indictments. You're not here tonight because you're afraid of being on the stage and defending your record. You're ducking these things. And let me tell you what's going to happen. You keep doing that, no one up here is going to call you Donald Trump anymore. We're going to call you Donald Duck.
All right. I want to ask the governor to...
Oh! Burn! Got him! This is stupid. This is no way to run a country. This is absolutely the worst possible format that we could have. Now, I am all for discussion. I'm all for debates of ideas. But in terms of choosing a candidate, one, the polling would kind of suggest that the candidate is already chosen. And two, how does anybody think that that is helpful? Now, I would love to hear an in-depth discussion of the debt. And DeSantis said in the beginning, what, $7.8 trillion added to the debt during the Trump presidency? Yeah, that is a problem. I think that should be discussed. But the idea behind running for president, in my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong, but I guarantee you I'm not, being the president of the United States should not depend on the quick TV clips that you're trying to get attention on. In other words, the one-liners, the zingers, shouldn't have any place in a presidential debate, selection process, any of that. How are you going to run the country? That's literally the only thing the American people should care about. Maybe, and I'm talking myself out of this, but maybe this is what the American people deserve. If we're going to pay this little attention to things and stuff like that is going to make the headlines and make the news, maybe this is what we all deserve. Just garbage and trash coming from a so-called quote-unquote debate stage. Well, I'll save that point for a second. I wanted to get to Vivek. Vivek kind of also tried to make headlines with this screed that I don't necessarily disagree with, honestly. But watch this.
But I do go a step further. You're right about that, Ilya. I favor ending birthright citizenship for the kids of illegal immigrants in this country. Now, the left will howl about the Constitution and the 14th Amendment. The difference between me and them is I've actually read the 14th Amendment. What it says is that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the laws and jurisdiction thereof are citizens. So nobody believes that the kid of a Mexican diplomat in this country enjoys birthright citizenship. Not a judge or legal scholar in this country will disagree with me on that. Well, if the kid of a Mexican diplomat doesn't enjoy birthright citizenship, then neither does the kid of an illegal migrant who broke the law to come here.
So that was, I guess, a hot take and kind of, again, said for the fact that he is trying to gain attention, which is what they're all trying to do. And what is the most, I don't want to say outlandish policy, because I don't necessarily disagree with rethinking the birthright citizenship. Just because you happen to be born in a geographical location, does that mean that you are automatically afforded all of the privileges that come with being an American citizen? Maybe you should have to do something in order to be a participating member of our society. Again, that's a different discussion for a different time. But the main point being, people trying to grab attention doesn't help. The last thing I think is going to really hit the nail on the head here is this question. We already had a comment in the comments section. Where is it? Where is it? Jody said that the moderators sucked. Even Dana, which is sad to see. Yeah, Dana is getting a lot of heat for asking this game show-like question in, again, a presidential debate. I want you to watch this.
That you're dropping out. So, which one of you on stage tonight should be voted off the island? Please use your marker to write your choice on the notepad in front of you. 15 seconds starting now. Of the people on the stage, who should be?
I'll decline
absolutely
to do that
serious.
with all due respect. I mean, we're here, like, we're happy to debate, but I think that that's disrespectful to my fellow competitors.
Nobody wants to. Nobody wants to
Let's
participate.
do some questions. Let's talk about the future of the country.
I'll answer. I want to be clear.
Okay, but let's be honest. It's Doug Burgum. Like, the guy on the end of the stage when the camera flashed to him, you're like, wait a minute, who's that guy? I know all of those guys. If they were to write the question down, it would 100% be Doug Burgum. Now, aside from the fact that I didn't like the game show concept of it, I think there is a point to be made of like, hey, why are all of you here? Like, I understand why some of them, like DeSantis and Haley, and Vivek to a certain extent, have a shot at being the president of the United States. Obviously, a very long shot. Even guys like Tim Scott. I really like Tim Scott. But Mike Pence, dude, nobody's excited for Mike Pence. Doug Burgum, who is that again? And no disrespect to Doug Burgum, but really? Like, who? What I was really disappointed to see was no Asa Hutchinson, which I think that's his name. If Asa Hutchinson wasn't on the stage, I wasn't watching. But at the end of the day, the question, despite its game show-like phrasing, context, is a good question. Why are a lot of you up there doing that? It's going to make it easier to get hit from the other side. And I think we're not in a good situation when people can look at the GOP debate and think it was a dumpster fire, which it was, and be correct about it. People like none other than California Governor Gavin Newsom, who was at the debate yesterday in the spin room, saying things that were true. Again, I disagree with Gavin on policy and how to do things just in general. Life overall, I disagree with Gavin probably 100%. But there are times in which he's just correct. So even people that you disagree with fervently can just be correct. And if this isn't nailing the point home to get rid of the standard debate format that is useful to absolutely no one anymore, I feel like this is the clip. Because Gavin Newsom, somebody we all disagree with, saying things that are just objectively true. Watch this.
Governor, what do you think is going to be the takeaway after this debate from the American people?
I think it will be clear that Trump comes out the dominant force after this debate. I mean, this is the XFL. This is JV. I mean, and honestly, this is maybe a vice presidential debate. These guys are getting lapped by Donald Trump. It's not even close. It's not even interesting. And I think what's most interesting to me is, do they recognize that? Or are they actually going to show up and run against the guy that's in the way of their prospects to be the nominee? It's a zero-sum game. It's a binary choice at the end of the day. It's not a ranked choice voting. So either these guys come after the front runner and distinguish themselves, or otherwise they're wasting everybody's time. And I say this with love and respect. There's a reason some of the advertising is being discounted for this debate. People don't even want to tune in because they know that fundamentally.
So then why are we doing it, is the question. For the conservatives, the freedom lovers out there that are just, I don't know, want the country to be run in an effective, efficient way that manages the finances and the future of the country the best way possible. If that is your goal and that is your purpose, then why are we doing this? Why are we effectively giving the opposite party or just the opposition as a whole a bat to hit us with? Because that's what this is. And again, as much as I disagree with Gavin on policy stuff, he's right. Nobody cares about this. The only thing that we're doing is attacking people who, in my opinion, would be great presidents. I don't think there's a single person on that stage that I don't think would be an effective conservative president. Now, you can disagree with their statements, who they dislike, who they like. I know Christie, a bunch of people would be like, you think Chris Christie would be a good president? Honestly, probably. I know that he's like so hard against anti-Trump, and he's probably just holding a grudge because he wasn't appointed attorney general by President Trump. I get all that. But in terms of effectively running the executive branch of the government, I don't think that there is a person that I would be like, absolutely no. Or let me rephrase it like this. There's not a person up there, if for some reason, some cataclysmic event happened and they were the only person there. If Doug Burgum was the only candidate left somehow, I would still vote for him over any of the Democrats. Probably. Depending on what any of the liberals, we'll say that any of the liberals. So that being said, if that's the case, then why are we doing this? Why are we just giving the opposition side, who is much more cohesive, they are much more united front, they're much more united in their wrongness than conservatives / Republicans are, and we are just giving them a bat to beat us over the head with. I think we should stop doing that. But that's enough of that. I will stop, because I think after every debate, this is kind of the standard point I make, is this is all dumb and stupid and we shouldn't be doing it. So maybe I'll lay off that for a little bit. But speaking of people that I generally disagree with fervently, I want to get to this. I agree with Senator Bum. I don't want to call him Senator Sweater or Senator Hoodie, whatever. He likes that. If you don't know who I'm talking about, John Fetterman, the guy who wears a hoodie on the Senate floor, because we, for some reason, got rid of the dress code, even though Democrat senators who were leading the charge said that's a bad idea. Chuck Schumer got rid of the dress code. We've talked about that. But all that to be said, I don't like calling John Fetterman Senator Hoodie because he wants to be called Senator Hoodie. He looks like a bum. And by the way, too, that is the only thing he has going for him. The idea and the fact that he's called Senator Hoodie, or the guy who dresses like an average American, which, one, just isn't true. Any working class person doesn't show up to a meeting like this. But two, that's the only thing he has going for him. Remember, he is a trust fund kid who has never worked a job in his life, who was given everything, and his only thing to assimilate himself with the average American person is dressing like a bum. So anyways, Senator Bum, not Senator Hoodie. And I know I just went on a long tirade just disparaging the man, but I agree with him in this particular point. And this, I think, is something that all Americans should freaking get together on. He says some things I agree with. I'll play that clip for you now. Watch this.
And let me say, I hope many of our colleagues agree. The Chinese government and other U.S. adversaries should own zero agricultural land in our country. I believe that. I mean, they're taking back our pandas. You know, we should take back all of their farmland.
Yeah, again, regardless of how much I disagree with him on policy, Stephen says Fetterman is a bum. Christopher says his parents still pick out his clothes for him. Yeah. And Jody says this, Fetterman is a mentally impaired, like the fraud in chief. Yeah, there are so many things that I disagree with and dislike John Fetterman for, but in this particular instance, I think he's right. Why are we allowing one of our biggest adversaries to own a bunch of land in our country? And then he makes a dumb kind of remark, well, they're taking our pandas, which is all, okay. If you don't know about this story, China, the pandas that exist in the American zoos are on loan from China. They let us borrow the pandas so that we can see them in a zoo-like setting as Americans. Apparently, they're not happy with us at the moment, so they are demanding that their pandas be returned. And he made like a quick quip about that of, well, they're taking our pandas back. And I guess side note to that, why don't we just tell them to pound sand? Like, this isn't like, they're not like taking back like this big monumental force that really means anything to either side. Why don't we just say, you know what, China? Pound sand. We're not giving you your pandas. These are our pandas now. It's your mistake to loan them to us. You're trying to take them, you can make the environmentalist argument, you're trying to take them out of the habitat that they've known for decades. How cruel is that to the pandas? Anyways, stupid story, but at the same time, Senator Bum, I guess a broken clock is right twice a day. In which case, this is the example here of Senator Bum saying, yeah, why are we letting one of our biggest adversaries buy our land? I don't know. Mike says, Pandagate. That's funny. Yeah, will we let Pandagate stand? All right, here's this. Also at the federal government level, if you don't know this, the federal government is facing a government shutdown. Oh no! Now, I think the only thing that I have to point out here is that how the media covers the federal government quote unquote shutdown. They take the worst story that they can find and extrapolate that to the entirety of the government shutdown. In this particular case, they found this nice young lady. Now, I have no problem with her. I'm sure she works very hard, and I'm sure that her situation is one that I would not like to be in. But at the same time, if we're looking at the broader scope of what's best for the American people, and if the debate for what's best for the American people results in the federal government shutting down, I feel like that takes precedent over one particularly sad story. I'm going to play you this, and I want you to see how the media covers this. Oh my goodness. The government shutdown will do this. We cannot let it happen. Watch this.
You worry that you won't be able to pay your bills by the end of the month if Congress doesn't act?
Oh, yeah. Yes. I worry about that. A whole lot. I'm trying not to cry. I'm trying not to cry.
Price has worked at the Library of Congress cafeteria for decades, faced with yet another shutdown.
I've been up on this hill for 42 years. I've been there. Oh.
I do not in any way want to belittle this woman's experience, because that's probably rough. I would probably ask, no saving for a rainy day, like none whatsoever. But besides that point, the media goes out of their way to say, how could Republicans do this to this woman? Which is just the dumb. When government shutdowns happen, and both sides are guilty of this, they take the worst possible thing that you could do and do that thing to make the shutdown hurt worse. In other words, if you lose your job, right, and your income stream is faced with a temporary shutdown, you might cut back on the fancier things in life. Maybe you'd cut down on going out to eat. Maybe you'd cancel one of your subscriptions. Maybe you'd use your air conditioning less and try to use fans at night to suck in the cold air. And there's a lot of things that you could do. What you wouldn't do first is stop paying your mortgage. You would cut all of these other extracurricular things, and you would identify the important things. We need to eat. We need to keep our house. This is only temporary, but these things we need to prioritize. That's what you would do in your household. The federal government does the exact opposite thing. There are so many federal government jobs that honestly, one, don't need to exist. The idea of, what's the term that they use? Non-essential. Oh, we're going to furlough the non-essential employees until the government shutdown is over. Why don't we just fire the non-essential employees? It's in the name that you're using. Non-essential. If it's not essential, why do they exist? But all that being said, is there are so many non-essential employees in the federal government, and yet, if there is a government shutdown, they will go after the people first that have stories like this. They don't have to stop paying for various things. For example, there are monuments in parks, right, that are not supervised by anybody. They're just there. They're like, it's a federal government monument inside of a park, right, that everybody goes to. They will board up that monument. Nobody is like there watching the monument. There's no patrol. There's no federal government employee doing that thing. But because it is a federal government thing, they will say, you are not allowed to look at that monument anymore until the shutdown is over. And it's wielded as some sort of political tool that is just used to beat Americans over the head with. And so what I think I'm getting at ultimately is, hey, how about we prioritize figuring out budgets, policies, and all those sorts of things, rather than politicizing something that should just be second nature, should just be, hey, let's try to effectively run the country. But instead, we're going to turn the cameras to people like this, who, again, their situation may be very sad, but then pretend and extrapolate this out to the greater American public. And look, if Republicans shut down the government, all of these people will die. It's just not true. It's a stupid talking point and a stupid argument. And you know what? When the Wi-Fi goes out of my house, I press the reset button, turn it off for a little bit, and I turn it back on and it works great. Who knows? Maybe the federal government is the same. Lastly, but certainly not least, this is a big oops. I wanted to play this clip. Justin Trudeau yesterday, the King of Canada, which I know is not his actual title, but the alliteration there really makes it roll off the tongue. King of Canada Justin Trudeau came out yesterday with I don't know if this is a press conference or just a media address, acknowledging a big oops. We didn't necessarily talk about this, but the Canadian Parliament, while Zelensky was there last week, invited a Nazi and then had the Nazis, like literally a former SS agent, stand, and he was given an ovation. And the entire world was like, hey, what are you doing, Canada? Since then, the Speaker of the Canadian House Parliament, I don't know how they do things up there. None of it actually matters because they have a smaller military than us. But the Canadian Speaker resigned over that 2 days ago, yesterday. And then yesterday, Justin Trudeau gave this little ditty, absolving himself of any wrongdoing whatsoever and saying, the person responsible for this has resigned. Please don't blame me. But he said it in much more lawyerly PR terms. Watch this.
In a few moments, I will address the House in front of all Canadians, in front of Jewish people here and around the world, and Ukrainians, to offer Parliament's unreserved apologies for what happened on Friday. The Speaker was solely responsible for the invitation and recognition of this man and has wholly accepted that responsibility and stepped down. This was a mistake that has deeply embarrassed Parliament and Canada.
I mean, that's it. That's really all it is. And like, again, I don't know how much responsibility Justin should be given, but I really do like the sole and only person who is responsible for this, which clearly isn't me at all. He's gone now, so we can all we'll pretend that it didn't happen. But yeah, pretty big mistake there, Canada, in your pretend government. I don't know. I should stop saying that sort of thing because it's probably somewhat disrespectful. But at the same time, the Canadian government is an interesting topic in and of itself. But anyways, let's see. That'll do it for us today. Appreciate you sticking around, tuning in. If you haven't already, give me a follow on any of your social media platforms. Just type in JOBOB pretty much anywhere. You'll be able to find me on all of the Instagrams, Twitters, all of those sorts of things. Go give the Daily Caller the same. Let's see. Next Friday, we're in Fort Smith, Arkansas, Van Buren, Arkansas, next Friday at the King Opera House, and the Tulsa Little Theater next Saturday, October 7th. I'm also in San Jose with Charlie Kirk on Monday of this next week, and in Albany, New York with Candace Owens on Tuesday. So if you want any of those dates, venues, events, go ahead and follow me on any of the social media accounts. You'll be able to find me there. And would love to meet you all in person. Really enjoy doing that when we're out and about. But appreciate you sticking around, tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, probably. God bless America.